Hello and welcome to the newest installment of the Success Center webinar series. My name is Jason Davis and I'll be guiding you through the process of citing and referencing non-traditional sources. Brooke Howard will be helping me with answering any questions you may have. Please reserve the chat box for questions regarding the webinar. We will have a question and answer session at the end and we will field those questions at that point. Okay, let's get started. This webinar is designed to help you correctly cite and reference commonly used non-traditional sources. Prior to the internet age, students would mainly research by going to the library and checking out books or journals. This made it easy when it was time to write the paper, as you only had to use a few different formats for citations and references. The web has opened many new doors for students to utilize when doing research. APA format has continued to evolve and has kept up with these new avenues of research. On a side note, the CSU Online Library has many databases that contain peer-reviewed academic journals for research. These are recommended for use in academic writing. This webinar is not here to recommend other sources or types of research. This webinar is intended to broaden your ability to cite and reference various sources. If you ever have any questions about the validity of a source, I recommend that you email your professor to obtain permission to use that source. Okay, what if I'm referencing a source that is not covered in my APA guide? 4 main pieces of information should be in your reference: author, date, title, and source. If every source we used had this information listed, it would be easy to cite. Some sources may be missing some of this information. Many web pages do not have authors or dates, and some may not have titles. By knowing where to look or how to substitute information, this will allow you to put your reference together. We will start by looking at some specific types of citations and references, and then look at different variations of form. Okay, first up, we have how to reference a blog post. First up, we have the last name of the author, followed by the initial. The specific date is then listed in parentheses. The title of the post is up next. The source type is then listed in brackets. This will vary depending on what type of source we're using. In this case, it is a blog post, also known as a weblog post. Note how no information is in italics. APA format is very specific on how information is listed. Book titles and journal titles are in italics, but not the title of this post. When looking at sample references, always pay attention to punctuation, capital letters, italics, and dates. Be sure to use this information when putting your reference together. The specific URL of the post is the last piece of information. How to cite a blog post in text, Bird, 2012. Okay, now it's time to cite this within the text of your document. With this, we do not have any initials, only the author's last name is used. The year of the post is then listed, but not the month and day. Next up, we have a Facebook page. We'll start with the username or group name of the page. In this case, it is Tutor Kitties. The ND is next because we have no date or copyright on the page. Fan page is next listed in brackets, as this is the type of page. The month, day, and year of retrieval are next. Since these pages can change on a daily basis, this gives the reader a more specific time frame for when the reference was retrieved. The URL is the final piece listed. How to cite the Facebook page in the text. The username or group name will take the place of the author in this position. When the date is unknown, use ND for no date. Okay, the next thing we have is a Twitter post or a tweet. Again, you'll want to check with your professor on the viability of a source. These would mainly be used to retrieve a quote from someone famous or perhaps a politician. In the first position, we would list the author's name as it appears on the post. You would not add any spaces in the name or change it to have the last name first. This is done to ensure the accuracy of the reference. In the date position, we have the year followed by the month and day. This gives enough of a specific time for when the reader to know when the reference was from. As far as the title, if the post is not overly long, list the complete post and then the page type in brackets. If the post is too long, you'll want to use an abbreviated version for the title. The URL for this should be the specific URL of that post, not just the author's general Twitter URL. With the in-text citation, to maintain accuracy, we will list the name as it is written in the post. We would not shorten it to the last name. The date in the citation would simply be the year of the post. Okay, referencing a YouTube video is up next. The person who posted the video would be considered the author. Since YouTube requires users to have a screen name, this would follow the author's real name and be in brackets. This helps the reader with retrieving any other information about the author, or if they wanted to search for other works by this person. With the abundance of videos posted, giving the full date also helps with the retrieval. The title of the video is up next, with the file type following this in brackets. In this case, it is a video file. Once again, at the end, we have the retrieval information. For the in-text citation, we will use the last name of the person who posted the video. With videos, use the author's last name and not the screen name. This would be followed by the year. Okay, now we have referencing a recorded song. The songwriter is up first in the author position. The copyright year is used for the date. Then we have the title of the song. Following this would be the title of the album with the file type in brackets. This one is an MP3 file. Other file types for songs may include CD, audio cassette, or vinyl record. The location of the record label would be up next, followed by the label name. The in-text citation for this one includes the songwriter, followed by the date, and then the track number. Okay, this next one is very important for those of you who may be in safety and emergency management services. When referencing an OSHA document, the full name of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration is up first, followed by the acronym OSHA in brackets. The date would be next. In this case, ND would be listed as there is no date. Following this would be the title of the regulation or page you are referencing. The retrieval information would be last. Okay, how to cite an OSHA document. The citation for this one is a bit tricky. For a long time, even I was under the impression that you just had to list OSHA and the date. The proper way to do this is to spell out Occupational Safety and Health Administration in the first citation, followed by the acronym in brackets. After the first citation, only the acronym and date would be used. Okay, now we'll take a look at how to search out some information. If the author is not listed, try looking at the bottom of the web page. Many times it may say something like Ford Motor Company, copyright 2012. In that case, Ford would be the author and the copyright date would be used in the date position. If the title is missing, a description of the document may be used inside square brackets. This happens quite a bit when downloading PDF files. When listing the URL, remember to remove the hyperlink. You can do this by right-clicking on the URL, then clicking Remove Hyperlink. This is required in APA format. Okay, you may have some questions about how to reference a specific website or a document that we may not have covered. Since I cannot see what you're actually trying to cite, it would be best for you to send this in with your paper as a Writing Center request. That way we can pull up the website or document and give you a more accurate reference listing. In addition to helping students with assignments and providing math or writing assistance, the Success Center has resources for APA format essay writing, grammar, punctuation, sample essays, and avoiding plagiarism. If you'd like any resources for citations or references, we have several great ones in the Success Center. We have some individual ones that cover different types of magazines, journals, websites, and some that cover all of these. We also have a great sample essay that helps illustrate the different types of in-text citations. Please send a request to the Team Succeed email above if you'd like any of these. Any other questions? If you have any questions, you can type those in the chat box now. Okay, for a basic website, for the web page, Sean, no, you do not italicize that. Okay, the webinar presentation will be available for view, and there will be a link in the student portal, and it will be recorded in there, so if you'd like to take a look at that. You can also look at these slides in the portal there within the webinar. Okay, if you'll go into the Success Center portion of the MyCSU student portal, you'll be able to find the link for the webinar. Okay, Eric, that's a great question. This webinar is not intended to say that these are exactly acceptable sites for research. However, many times when you're citing things from that are current events, if you're working on a research paper for current events, you may need to pull a certain quote from a politician or someone like that. A lot of times these would be posted on that particular person's Twitter account or possibly on their Facebook page, and that is where you'd use these. You would not use these for for trying to research certain specific things for a research paper. In that regard, you're always going to be better off going to the MyCSU online library and utilizing peer-reviewed journals. Wikipedia is actually a collaboration that anybody can add information into, so it is not documented. Okay, well, if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to type those in now. Okay, everyone, thank you for attending.